Hare Krishna. Please repeat after me. It's 6th Canto, 11th chapter, text 26, a wonderful eye-opening shloka, a very important Bhagavatam text in which longing for Krishna is expressed in increasing degrees. The flame of longing or yearning will become increasingly higher. I request that you register this verse in your mind with great attention. So please hear very carefully. I might ask you a question if you have heard the verse. It might be totally embarrassing if you have not. Please listen carefully. O lotus-eyed Lord. O lotus-eyed Lord, as baby birds that have not yet developed their wings always look for their mother to return and feed them. Baby birds in the nest without wings, so dependent on the mother. As small calves, tied with the ropes, await anxiously the time of milking. Small little calves, they're bound with the ropes, they can't move forward, mother is there. Or as a morose wife, whose husband is away from home, always longs for him to return and satisfy her in all respects. I always yearn for the opportunity to render direct service unto you. Purport. A pure devotee always yearns to associate personally with the Lord and render service unto Him. The examples given in this regard are most appropriate. Now Srila Prabhupada goes through the 3 examples given in the verse. A small baby bird is practically never satisfied except when the mother bird comes to feed it. A small calf is not satisfied unless allowed to suck the milk from the mother's udder. And a chaste, devoted wife, whose husband is away from home, is never satisfied until finally she has the association of her beloved husband. Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Veshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharye Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Before speaking, on the subject matter, bringing our chanting to perfection, I need to bring you to a certain level so that you will be able to get the maximum benefit from this short some time for this class, which is still limited by time. I request you to give me your full attention, because what I will try now is to take you through a japa retreat, which usually takes a week or so, in 4.5 minutes. In the japa retreats, which are now conducted all over the world, there is a basic understanding. The understanding is that Prabhupada said often that our progress in Krishna consciousness is dependent on this one practice, chanting of Hare Krishna. There are different percentages which Prabhupada says. The highest percentage, up to my knowledge, is, he says, 90% of our advancement in Krishna consciousness is dependent on our chanting. So, the devotees who conduct japa retreats now all over the world have taken this very serious and have given very valuable tools and skills and also understandings to bring chanting to where it should be. I mean, if 90% of my life is dependent on something, I will certainly give it maximum attention. So in the japa retreats, which the Bhagavad Life Foundation teaches, and there are 4 gates which you have to pass in order to get the perfection of chanting. It's almost, the perfection of chanting is like in any mantra, that the Ishta Devata, or the Devata of the mantra, will reveal himself. Like if you chant Om Namah Shivaya, the perfection of chanting this mantra is that you will actually have darshan of Lord Shiva and engage in a relationship with him. So obviously for us, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and the perfection of chanting our mantra, the Maha Mantra, is that we will obtain a direct relationship with Krishna, a right direct darshan, if you so will. Like here this verse where it is said, the birds, the chanters are like birds, in other words, who wish to see the mother. Mother, come! So, before this happens, there are 4 gates through which we can pass. You can compare this with a South Indian temple, let us say Srirangam, where before you can enter the darshan hall, you have to go through certain gates. You know how these gates are called? South Indian? Gopurams, yes, thank you. One gate, then you pass the wall, another gate, other gate. Finally, you stand before the deity. So, in chanting, you have to also make sure that a few gates are crossed. The first are foundational things like sitting properly and, more than anything, right pronunciation. Like Prabhupada says, I thought it was a German custom to use upper and lower lips while you speak. Srila Prabhupada says, when you chant, you must pronounce the mantra properly by using the upper and lower lips. Not but Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So foundational things which have to do with, getting up early, not sleeping, not lying down while you chant. And so on. The first gate the chanter has to pass through. Then the second gate would be the mind. You have to not chant absent-minded, but you have to concentrate yourself on the sound vibration. What is the benefit if you just the tongue and the body chant, but the mind is thinking of repairing your shoes or your next meal or and so on. The mind has to be concentrated while doing the practice. The next is you have to align also your mood. You have to chant in a way in which the Prabhupada says, in which the child cries for the mother. That's a certain mood. You all know, as mothers, when your child, your little toddler, is calling mother, mother, and playing mother, mother, doing many mother, mother, then you can continue with your cooking and your other activities. No need to pay attention. The child doesn't need you. But if the child calls in a mood of helplessness, of surrender, mother! Yes, I'm coming. Who said I'm not coming? You are immediately available to the needs of the child. So, chanting from the heart, not just externally, is also required when we chant, like calling out for the mother. So, alright. Right pronunciation and foundational thing, concentration, some feeling. Now you have crossed this. Now you stand before the final gate and it's closed. Yes. You cannot force the Lord to reveal Himself, not even by coming to a japa workshop, which are given all over the world by qualified devotees. No. The door to the kingdom of God has only a handle in the inside. That needs to be opened by the divine couple, Radha and Krishna. You can't be a Vaikuntha crasher or a Golokadam crasher with some techniques, something wants to attain the Lord. It is ultimately great. Just like I remember when we visited Sri Rangam, we had passed through the Gopurams, the gates, and we were standing one morning before the deity, and it was already the time for the deity to awaken, but he had eaten very much in the evening and was still unwilling. He was still a little insisting on his sleep, so the doors remained closed. And I remember that they brought the elephant, and the elephant was trying to wake the Lord. This is what he does every morning, but even after the third he Ranganath remained behind closed doors. More elephant, more screaming, more. But the door remained closed until finally, quite late, after all the meal was profusely, the door opened and yes, the Lord gave his darshan. So, in chanting Hare Krishna, we can come and go through the doors, but we have to know that ultimately it's Nam Kripa, the mercy of the holy name, which we want. So, in this morning's lecture, this was not 4.5 minutes, I will take you to this area here, chanting with feelings, chanting like a child calls for the mother, because the Lord does have a weakness. When He sees the devotee really chants from the heart and really calls out for Him, then some waves of mercy, this is how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes this, are coming on the still lake of the Lord's heart. And these waves of mercy, his heart becomes agitated, in other words, with compassion, are flowing towards his bhakta. So we will talk about this now. And because this will be a diversion, can I maybe ask someone, could you maybe just cover it again? I just wanted to show you quickly. Good. So, are you with me? Really, this will be a will be a little intense, what you will hear now. My dear devotees, let us first read the text again. Because we will now, and let us understand the text, because we will hear now a flame of desire coming up in the temple room, hopefully. O lotus-eyed Lord, I always yearn for the opportunity to render direct service unto you. As baby birds that have not yet developed their wings, always look for the mother to return and feed them. I yearn for the opportunity to render direct service to you. As small calves. Now, have you ever seen baby birds when they are in the nest? All you see of the baby bird is really one organ. What? The mouth. It's red. It's really, I mean, here you are in Vrindaban, I think there are some baby birds here. I wanted to bring one with me, but then I thought I wouldn't be cruel to the baby bird, because after all she wants the mother, she doesn't want the association of devotees even. She just wants the mother, only very fixed on the mother. Second example, as small calves tied with ropes await anxiously the time of milking, when they will be allowed to drink the milk of their mothers. You know this, the cowherd in Braj, they bring the calf and the mother is there with full udder. The mother yearns to come to the calf and the calf yearns to come to the mother but can't come. The calf is bound by this rope and strains. So then the mother is so much full of love because she sees her calf, and then the cowherd man can easily milk. And the calf hears this. Really, yearning is developing more and more. Mother is releasing out of love oceans of milk, and then finally, at the end, they bring the calf so that the calf drinks not too much, because if it would drink the whole udder, it would be, its belly, small belly would inflate like a pumpkin and burst, So it comes at the end. Or as a morose wife, this is an ancient example, it may not hold true in the Hare Krishna movement. Or as listen carefully, of the beauty of the old times. Or as a morose wife whose husband is away from home, always longs for him to return and satisfy her in all respects. I always yearn for the opportunity to render direct service unto you. In Bhagavad Archa Marichi Mala, which is something like an overview of the entire Bhagavatam, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes about this verse. He writes that a devotee, a sadhaka, must chant in the moods which are expressed in this verse, so that he can properly chant the holy name and brings it to some level where Krishna hears it. I think you still remember the example of calling out for the mother. Yes, when the child calls for the mother but is diverted, not really there, and it's calling, the mother will not come. I'll just tell the devotee something which happened to me in Switzerland. I was preaching to a woman who had a little child, and she had the child away. The child was sleeping, and the child was, far away from her. There was a staircase, and there were two big doors, Swiss doors, not American doors, this big, this thick, real perfect doors, really soundproofed doors as far as I'm concerned. So that I was answering the question of the young woman. All of a sudden her face distorted, and she, without explaining anything, ran out of the room, slammed the door, and was disappeared. I thought, my God, I again blew it. I don't even know what I said wrong. I thought this was good preaching. Really, I avoided all the hot issues which can be avoided in the argument stream. It was just innocently preaching. I wish I ever find out what I did wrong here. So after a little while, I heard a knocking at the door, and I went, and I thought it was now a woman totally infuriated with me, with having cried for 10 minutes and having a kitchen knife in her hand. But I saw this same woman happily smiling, and her baby was on her arm, and she said, Maharaj, this was such a good point. Can you please continue there? I'm totally confused. I can't continue before you give me an answer to my question. Why did you just run out? Did I say something wrong? Oh, no, it was so wonderful. But you know, my baby was calling me. When babies awake, Maharaj, you don't know these things, but when they awake and you are not there, then there's a catastrophe for the young mind of the baby. So you have to be there. And I said, how did you hear it? I didn't hear anything. There were two big Swiss doors between, and a huge staircase. I mean, a real aristocratic. Have you been in the Zurich temple? It's a huge staircase. It was. He said, Maharaj, you just hear it. And the child is, I can't explain it. It's just, you hear it. Maybe it's the mother and child frequency or something. You can't hear this. I was enlightened. Thank you so much. I learned today from you that we must come on a certain frequency. Then the Lord will also hear us. That frequency must be a frequency of need. We can't be lackadaisical. Is that an English word? There has to be a need in the heart, and it has to be expressed. Now, when do you have a need for something? That's a good question for spiritual psychology. When do you really feel you need? There are two things which come to mind. When you are in danger, like someone attacks you and you call for help, or you are desperately in need when you are in love. When do we need Krishna? We wake up to the need of Krishna, not when we are in the lackadaisical mood of devotional service, or when we are in routine consciousness on automatic pilot in our lives. We must become aware of of an existential need which we have for Krishna. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very kindly expresses a need in his Shikshastaka prayer, which I feel we can very easily identify with. Have you ever drowned in the ocean? Have you ever been in a riptide? Sometimes happens in Puri. If you are not careful, a tide which goes away from the beach into the ocean. He says, Mahaprabhu evokes this image of a drowning man in his classical "Please Pick Me Up" verse. Ainanda tanuya kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam budo kripaya tava pada pankaja stitaduli sadrisham vichintaya. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I'm your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other, I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. The ocean got me. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Nanda Tanuya, Mahaprabhu uses this very sweet name of Krishna. You have come from Nanda. You are the darling son, your dear son of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna is small. Small babies evoke maximum amount of love with their beautiful eyes, their innocent language, their sweet little limbs which move awkwardly around as they try to walk. So sweet. So much pulling out love. So much evoking our full attention. This is a Nanda Tanuya. I would like to read you an expanded translation which somehow, where the jewels in this verse are brought further out to us to consider. O son of Nanda, Krishna, king of the country of love, I appeal for your affection. I'm your servant. I feel deep within myself that I have some connection with you. Yes, I'm subordinate to you. But somehow I'm now in adverse circumstances. There are so many enemies within me who try to take my attention away from you. I'm in an adverse situation, a very bad situation. Very bad, I can't do what I wish to do. Therefore I cannot give my full attention to you always. Can't give my full attention to your name. But at the same time, I feel when I go deep, deep, deep in my heart that you are my master. I feel that. You are my all and everything. You know something, my Lord? My heart will never be satisfied without your companionship. So I appeal to you. I'm living under unfavorable circumstances, dangerous circumstances. I'm in the ocean, I'm drowning, I'm suffering. Without your grace, I cannot find relief from this dilemma. This is how a devotee calls helplessly. Helplessly, why? Because he is in a divided self. One side of him wants to go eastwards to the kingdom of God, but then there are the mind, and underneath the mind, these deep sanskaras, deep impressions, which always influence the mind. I want this, I want this, I want this. Can't you hear? I want this. So there is a pull in the western direction. Have you ever seen a person who tries to walk eastwards and then he feels an impulse to walk westwards? You sometimes see. Someone gets up because it's prasadam time and he runs out. Or no, prasadam time is let us say his old friends from the Rowdy Association. One has a football, another an American baseball hat, are there, and the news comes, come, your friends want to see you. And he's standing in the temple room and says, no, I want to remain in the class, I don't want to go to my baseball hats and beer friends. They are not my friends. I know they want to talk beer, rock and roll, and foolish baseball, and whatever it's called, and iPod, and telephone, and internet. They want to talk like this. And, no, let me stay. But oh, your friends. He tries to stay in the temple, but now he has to go outside. This is our situation. We are surrounded by these adverse circumstances, our old attachments. They have not gone. And they call us, come out, go west. The west is the best. We say, no, the east is the best. This is a dangerous situation. It's a split situation. It's the literature of spiritual literature is full with expressions of the divided self. Great saints have talked about it. Martin Luther, the German reformer. How do we say in American? Martin Luther. Luther. He wanted to write the translation of the Bible because he felt the Bible should not be in Latin, which was not the language of the ordinary people, which was only the language of a few priests who monopolized in explaining the Bible. He felt it should be translated in Altdeutsch. So he was there translating it. And then he felt this temptation that why do you translate the Bible? There are other things to do, essential things. I think he eventually married. He could not always keep his ideals so high. Maybe it was a revolutionary statement also, I can't interpret that. But he became so disturbed by this call from the West that it is said that he took the ink pot with which he was writing, putting his writing tool into the ink pot and just screamed out, "You devil, you Christian!" And he threw the ink pot to the wall. You can still see when you visit this room, the ink on the wall. The ink of a tempted soul. The ink which was thrown by a divided self. The devil is not out there at the wall. He's here, attachments. We all like this. So we are in danger. We are drowning in the ocean. We want to go in one direction. We all feel Krishna. We feel Krishna, wonderful. And there are these diversions. Krishna, our friends with the internet and the baseball caps and everything. So when a person is in danger, he might call out. The other thing is when one is in love. That's much better. Sacinandana Swami offers an example to help us understand what it means to call out in love for Krishna. To love. You know, he calls upon this bird, the Chakravaka bird. You heard about him? He wants to meet his beloved ladybird, and in the night, naturally, the most romantic times for lovers to meet. Let's see, yesterday some lovers meeting in the night. Yes, that's the time. If you want that. But they are cursed. They can't find each other. It's somehow a curse, and I heard it's a curse from a rishi. There were once two Chakravaka birds on a branch, and they actually met, and they were romantically together. They were so absorbed in the romantic association that they just lost balance, you know. They had butterflies in the stomach, I guess, and they fell both into a lap of a meditating saint who was in the renounced order of life. So these two birds, you know, fell in the lap, and they were streaking with excitement. Maybe they didn't notice even. I don't know. I was not there. And the saint was furious. I'm meditating. I'm good sannyasi, fully renounced, and these dirty birds with their dirty imagination, they just fall in my lap of all places. This is totally objectionable. I will teach them a lesson, and he cursed them. Chakravaka birds. Chakravaka birds. You will never ever meet in the night again. Nor will those in your species meet in the night. That's why you hear the night in the Indian forest. You know, the drama unfolding here. They will not meet, they will always pass by each other. Poor birds. In Moscow, someone asked me, then how did they multiply? And so then the species is still there. And I said, oh, best of the thinkers. They multiplied in the day. Okay, Maharaj. This is not the time for the best time. So let us now move. Let us now. We have laughed about the example and how vivid it was. But now let us enter into what the example wants to tell us, and then we might cry. You know, we need to meet the Lord. The need. We need to get out of that ocean. Without any slight contact, we have not even made the first thing ready. The first step in a Krishna conscious Sambandha. Sambandha, Videya, Prayojana. You all know our philosophy very well. There needs to be some, at least a beginning of some relationship. If that is not there after so many years, what are we doing? Have we understood our philosophy? Have we practiced our chanting properly? Are we sincere? Are we there? Are we right on, as we say in New York? We do have to awaken our heart. We do have to awaken our heart for a relationship. A relationship which is the ultimate relationship. If we don't have that relationship working with the Lord, our very source, our other relationships will ultimately not satisfy us. We need to dive into that relationship. Desperate need. And this need must be expressed. Therefore, as we chant, we can go in the mood, my dear Lord, call out for Him in a helpless mood. Devotees, says Prabhupada, having no shelter other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, naturally cry to Him for help, exactly like children who do not know anything but the protection of their parents. Something which I very much like, a verse from Chaitanya Bhagavatam, tells us what this crying means. It tells us cry while chanting. Would you like to know the verse? Yes, but we need to open the door again. You were not there. And the door, the main door, this door is not so important. The door which we don't see is more important. Someone going outside and opening the door. You go. Good. So the verse goes like this. See, even you have to support your poor lecturer who tries to make a point. I know a lecture when there is no oxygen becomes torture. Even if the points are new. We always not like to hear something new, then we are attending. So here's the verse for you. Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga Dhana, Bhakti Krishna Nam Smarana Krantam. Devotional service. Devotional service. Devotional service is the greatest treasure. And what does it mean? Devotional service means crying while remembering Krishna's name. Lord Krishna, in the Adi Purana, Lord Krishna makes a few statements which are very revealing. For instance, he makes this famous statement, someone who says he's my devotee is not my devotee. Have you heard this statement? Someone who says he is the devotee of my devotee, he is my devotee. He makes another very mind-blowing statement. He says, Gayanti man namani rudanti mama samvido tesham aham parikritta nanya krita janardana. Trying to remember Dravida Prabhu when he chants. Listen. I am purchased by those who sing my names and cry in front of me. I am not purchased by anything else. So Krishna has this weak spot. He comes when someone really calls his name, really calls for him. My dear devotees, everything in life, and especially in spiritual life, is dependent on the mood, on the understanding, on the underlying, let's be esoteric for a second, vibrational alignment in your heart. Let us leave esoteria. Now, everything is dependent on your mental condition. It is said that there are 1,000 prostitutes in Calcutta who go every morning into the Ganga to wash themselves because on their bodies there are stains from the hectic, stressful night at their unusual jobs. So every morning these prostitutes come and wash themselves, but they go out of the Ganga. They don't go to become Vaishnavis in the Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir. They again go back to their problematic jobs. So Prabhupada, because they are not purified. while going in the Ganga, although usually we say you are purified when you go in the Ganga, because their mental condition is different. They think of lovers with big purses while they enter into the Ganga. Quarter to 9. Am I correct? Quarter to 9? Is it quarter to 9 or later? They don't have the right mental condition by doing a spiritual activity, taking a bath in the Ganga. You might think this is too much, Maharaj. We like to be external devotees, we don't want to hear this. Hear Prabhupada on this point. People generally go to the Gangas to be purified of the effects of sinful life. But here is an example of how foolish persons enter the Gangas to become involved in sinful life. What could be the example? 10th canto. Huh? Thank you. Chandamuli Maharaj has supplied the answer. Nala Kuveran Marnik Griva went in the Ganga to have a very fulfilling sensual life. They drank wine and they were surrounded by naked beauties and so on. So people generally go to the Gangas to be purified of the effects of sinful life. But here is an example of how foolish persons, these two sons of Kuvera, enter the Ganga to become involved in sinful life. And then now Prabhupada's sentence. It is not that everyone becomes purified by entering the Gangas. It's not. Everything, spiritual and material, depends on one's mental condition. My dear devotees, because this is such an important statement, I request those who take notes to take a note where they can find this quotation and read it in their own reading time. You will find it in the 10th canto, 10th chapter, verse number 4, the purport thereof. 10:10:4 purport. So, when we chant, and when we want to awaken our chanting, and bring it bring it near perfection, then we must learn to call with the right mental condition, with the right mood. And you might say, Maharaj, you have successfully discouraged us again this morning. You have told us, in essence, we know you always have thoughts which you don't express. You must have had in your mind that Hare Krishna devotees become Hare Krishna devotees. Now, that is, chant in the right mood. Bring your heart to your practice. Don't bring your lips only. And you're right. This is the underlying thing. Chanting must be lip deep. No, that doesn't sound right. Chanting must be heart deep, not lip deep. By the way, this is a quotation from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Lip deep chanting will not. Heart deep will move the Lord. Now, where do you get this heart dimension from? I have a good surprise for you. A very good solution. You get it from other persons. Now is the time where you all know our exalted Vaishnavas depart. We saw the departure of Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj. Before that we saw the departure of Tamakrishna Goswami and also of Sridhar Maharaj and also of so many devotees. I know one devotee, Radhakund, and many other devotees, and most probably tomorrow you will hear the departure of a devotee where you have not even heard. It's so tragic. Tomorrow maybe And we will hear from Radhanath Maharaj if he thinks he can speak about it and not cry while he talks. We hear this. And you have been in memorial services where we cry, where someone says, and this Maharaj was so good, and then he talks how good he was and gives examples, and then he starts to cry, and we said, yeah, I'm not going to cry. I'm from Germany. I'm not crying in public. No, never. You begin to cry in the association of others with that tendency in their heart. No? Yes. So, when you chant, my dear devotees, bring yourself in the association of proper chanters. One gets 100th portion of the religious merit of a person by thinking of him. Bring your mind to Prabhupada. Bring your mind to Haridas Thakur. Bring your mind to Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Chant in their association by reading their prayers. Would you like to hear my favorite Prabhupada prayer? My dear Krishna, please remind me, says Prabhupada, to always chant your holy name. Please do not put me into forgetfulness. You are sitting within me as a super soul. So you can put me into forgetfulness or into remembering you. Please do not put me into forgetfulness. Please always remind me to chant. Even if you send me to hell, it doesn't matter. Just as long as I can always chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Or he says other things. He says that chanting, we should chant in the mood, please accept me. Or you can chant the prayers of Haridas Thakur or other prayers which will awaken your heart. Why will your heart be awakened? Because by chanting the prayers you move in the touching, in the heart-touching association of these great souls. And then you chant with the right mental condition. You enter the Ganga flow of the chanting, the right mental condition. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. My dear devotees, we have to stop here. I'm sorry that I will not be able to take any questions, but your questions will be answered this evening in the Nam Yagya. Something very special. You should come at please.